Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 18th of June, 2025 already. The sun is proper beating down outside here in the UK. I suppose it's a shame that the good weather and other good things are overshadowed by this drama. Actually, it's a little bit more than just a drama, but I promise you, this is going to be a short video. You'll be pleased to hear. And on top of that, I'm not even going to send you to sleep by showing you any boring slides. What I'm going to do is just show you some maps and things like that, just to kind of emphasize what we're talking about here. Guys, just something that seems to definitely be considered here, and that is Iran's announcement made, I think it was last night or over the last sort of, 10 to 20 hours on Iranian state TV and pinging all over the place across the web at the moment, and also social media platforms and everywhere else online. Let me just let's just get this moving. So what I've done is I've just Googled Iran's state TV attack on Israel tonight to be remembered for centuries. Okay. I just want you to have a look at this. If you haven't seen it, then you need to kind of take note of this. So Iran warns of surprise move to be remembered. Let's just open this up. Now, guys, these are all different outlets, but they're all saying the same thing. So it's not that one's talking a load of rubbish and then another one's kind of spinning the narrative in a different way. They've all picked up this information that's been announced on the Iranian state TV channel. So that's the root source of this information. And that will be like, I suppose, the BBC channels here in the UK. Let me just read. I'm not going to read into this too much. I just want you to sort of understand the headlines if we are going to get rid of all the adverts. That is, Iran warns of a surprise move to be remembered for centuries as the Middle East crisis deepens. Okay. And all it's saying there is Iran issued a chilling threat as tensions of the persisting conflict with Israel deepens, with claims of a surprise on Wednesday night. So that is today. The whole world will remember for centuries. Okay. You need to we need to listen to this. Okay. We need to understand what that means, but I'm not going to go into this into the articles. Okay, basically what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of have a look and analyze it quickly and just kind of determine what that actually means. So we're going to need to bear in mind or bear this article in mind. Analyze, for me, this is not for you guys, although you can go off and do this, but I'm going to sort of analyze what is and has been sort of happening over the last, let's say, couple of days, 2 or 3 days, since really Israel started their attacks on Iran or Iranian sort of facilities. And we're going to try and determine, as an outsider, what the hell this all means. Have Iran been probing the Iron Dome in Israel just to kind of determine how many missiles are required to overload that air? But it's an air defense system. For anyone who doesn't know what the Iron Dome is, it's just it's a web of air defense systems that work as a networked platform designed to detect incoming projectiles, missiles, or any foreign objects. And what it does is it kind of calculates and determines which projectile, especially when we're talking about multiple missiles, rockets, or whatever it is that's coming in. Basically, what the Iron Dome will do is it will determine which missile is likely to be the most dangerous. So what it's doing is it's making a calculation on its potential target. If that is a football field, then the Iron Dome won't waste any money and try and take that out, providing there's no, people playing football at the time. But what I'm trying to say is that's how it works, and it kind of determines what targets are going to be hit, the size of the missile coming in, the speed, and it will also determine the potential size of the warhead. Okay, and then it will make a calculation on whether it should take it out or what. Now, if you overwhelm a system like that, it will get to a stage where it cannot work anymore. It cannot sort of work in that defensive mode. Well, what I'm trying to say is it won't be able to work in that defensive mode forever. Okay, the missiles have to be replaced. You can run out of supplies and all the rest of it. There will be periods where the Iron Dome can't do its work. But Iran are going to sort of. This is how I see it. I think what they've been doing, if they've been probing the Iron Dome over the last, 2 to 4 weeks or whatever it is, Have they now determined how many missiles are needed to overwhelm the Iron Dome? And then, from that, they'll be able to sort of say, right, okay, we can launch X amount of missiles before the Iron Dome starts letting missiles through because it can no longer cope. Is that what's happened? And if that is the case, then are we talking about this surprise attack? Right, let me talk about the surprise attack, okay? You can't announce that there's going to be a surprise attack tonight. It's no surprise if you've told everyone what or when that's going to be. So we have to then kind of think, right, okay, a surprise attack tonight. Well, for something that's going to stick in people's minds for the next 2 centuries, it has to be the form of attack. What type of attack? Is it just a case of overwhelming the Iron Dome so much so that, let's say, for example, the Iron Dome can deal with 200 missiles, and then there's going to be a period where it's not going to be able to defend anymore? If that's the case, then Iran might turn around and say, well, okay, that's fine. What we're going to do, not that we're going to tell you, is we're going to launch anywhere between 400 and 800 missiles at Israel until, the Iron Dome collapses. And then they'll possibly send in, another missile thereafter. I'm going to talk about that other missile in a minute, and I'll tell you the reason why. We have to kind of make a decision on whether this is going to be an act that the world will remember for centuries. So overwhelming the Iron Dome and taking out, large parts of Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel. Yeah, of course, we're going to remember that. But is that the kind of statement they're making, or are they making a different statement? So what I mean by that is, you can go in and take and overwhelm the Iron Dome and take out all of and pretty much kind of win that battle, should we say. You're not winning the war, but you're winning a battle, and you're really putting Israel on the back foot and causing some serious shit. Or are they going to, now this is only speculation in my opinion, guys, and again, like I say, I'll tell you the reason why I think it's more along this lines. Are they going to overwhelm the Iron Dome, and then once they're convinced and satisfied that the Iron Dome can no longer cope with any incoming missiles, then they launch a nuke? And when I say a nuke, I'm going to explain what I mean by a nuke, okay? Because people's interpretation of a nuke is a mushroom cloud, the apocalypse, and then we're all dead. And that's not what I'm talking about. I remember doing a video and sort of researching probably 6 or 7 months ago, sort of news coming out of Iran about that they may have or may possibly have what they call an EMP, airburst, which is an airburst missile. It's an airburst detonated missile. Actually, whilst we're talking about EMPs, let's just bring that up. Okay, so an EMP, electromagnetic pulse attack, involves the sudden release of electromagnetic energy, potentially disrupting or damaging electronic equipment. Basically, what an EMP would do if it detonated above a town, city, village, or whatever it is, it's taking out the power. If it's powerful enough, if the warhead is big enough and it's close, in terms of altitude, whoever's going to launch an EMP is going to make a calculation based on the altitude that it's going to detonate and also the size of the warhead, and that will be, a decision made based on the damage you want to cause over a given area. So if we're talking about Tel Aviv and they want to just take out the electricity there, one would expect, let's say, for the Iranians to launch anywhere between 400 and 800 missiles into Israel, knowing that they're going to take the Iron Dome out or that will collapse. And then after that, once you're convinced and satisfied that that's happened, then you launch an EMP to detonate above Tel Aviv or somewhere else in Israel. And that's it. You've done more than put them on the back foot. Now, the reason why I'm right, just quickly, with an EMP, it will detonate above its target and it won't kick up this radioactive mushroom cloud that everybody is used to seeing, when they're kind of trying to associate a nuclear war, a nuclear detonation. It's not that it detonates above. Okay, so you won't get that. However, it is it is still devastating. You just don't, you don't suffer from, radioactive particles within a mushroom cloud. Now, why do I think that this is kind of possible? We, as in you and I, out there on the public domain, just the people, we're hearing this now, and we're hearing it via mainstream and on the news and all the rest of it. However, the government's intelligence services and militaries would have known about this threat, days or weeks ago. Hence the reason why we've seen aerial refuelers moving east into that area. We've seen F-22s, F-35s. Britain and other European countries are moving assets into that region. There are naval assets moving into and in and around, the Gulf of Persia, or the Persian Gulf, shall we say, because of Iran's threat that they're going to try and shut down, or attempt, or will shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, let's leave that. I'm going to leave that to one side. We're talking about what's happening tonight, potentially. On top of that, we've had Trump leave the G7 summit, go to a war room in the United States, sit there for hours and hours and hours, and then, obviously, coming out of there with decisions made, and off they go. So decisions have been made. The tweets and all that bluster on social media, they're all messages. Okay, guys, remember the governments and the presidents, I was going to say MPs, anybody in government here in the UK and in governments around the world, they're just puppets. These instructions are coming from above, way above their head, and then they're just handed down to those idiots like Trump and Starmer and all of that, just to, relay that information out to the masses, shall we say. Okay, let's just put that aside because it's all conspiracy shit. Now, we have Trump warning the residents of Tehran to evacuate, not just pockets, not just a few 100,000, the whole of that population. So if you're under the assumption that Iran are going to launch such an attack and possibly an EMP, then you're going to need to be ready to retaliate with something on the same level, if not more. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say, for example, that an EMP is detonated above Israel tonight, then the response is going to be an EMP detonated above Tehran in Iran. Okay, that's kind of what I see, and I'm only kind of saying this is speculation. I'm kind of guessing. You guys might be thinking, yeah, right, I'm going off on one and stuff like that. I'm trying to determine what's happening, and the reason why I'm trying to do that is because I need to understand the severity of possible impacts and threats to us here in the UK, across Europe and everywhere else. As I've said in my videos, guys, this is the only reason I'm doing this, is because I don't want to be caught out by other people's fights that are going to, it eventually sort of impact me and my family. I'm just not going to allow that to happen. So I'm not doing this because I'm bored or anything like that. I'm doing this because this shit is going off and we are going to be at the end of it. Now, put that aside. So EMPs, that's what an EMP is. That's what could be used. There's another reason why I believe this could happen, not just with Iran's announcement a few months ago, but there were, oh no, I'm not going to mention it. Forget it. I haven't got time for that. But there were sort of signs and signals that this was happening, possibly it was May of last year. That this was actually about to go down, and then it was called off at the last minute. But I'm not going to talk about that. I need to move on quickly. I did say I'll try and keep this quick, short, and as quick as possible. Right. So, like I say, this was going to be a lot quicker than what it's going to be, because that last piece there, it's kind of news that's only just come in, and it's imperative that I get that piece of information in there. That announcement we need to seriously take note of. Tonight I'm going to be up. I won't be going to bed. I'll be monitoring and tracking what's happening between Israel and Iran, because I want to know whether an EMP is going to be detonated. I want to know whether that's happened, guys. Okay. Anyway, let's put that aside. The reason for, or the main reason for this video was, right, are you happy with the statement? Iran warns of surprise move to be remembered, blah, 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 blah. Iran's state media claims that there will be a surprise tonight. Iran's supreme leader declares the battles begin. Okay, right, that's enough for me to kind of understand what the hell's going on. Right, let's move away from that. Now, in response to, let's say all of that goes off tonight and Iran want to respond. I want to talk about their responses. Okay. If they are actually at the moment watching a lot of targets being taken out in their country, and they are under the assumption that the Iranian regime is going to be dismantled, and they are now aware that the US are possibly coming in with bunker busters and all the rest of it, then they're going to be kind of shoved in the corner and they're going to go, right, fuck it, let's go. Let's do this. We've got no choice. If we don't do anything, then they're coming anyway. So let's take the fight to them. Okay. Hence the reason why I think that announcement has been made, and possibly, remember, guys, possibly all shit's going to break loose tonight. Right. Forget that. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. The so the West. So I believe the West, and when I'm saying the West, I say this in my videos because that's what we're talking about. Let's be honest. All of this conflict in at the moment that's happening all around the world is pretty much the West versus the East. But I believe right now that there is a four-phase attack happening. Okay, I think well. I mentioned that I'm doing this video off of the back of the one I've done yesterday, and I mentioned these four phases. This is happening as we speak right now, and it's happening quite quickly. So phase one is air superiority above said target, that being Iran. That's phase one. Okay, so they've announced over the last day or two that they've had air superiority above Tehran, and I think they're now saying most of Iran. So they've achieved that first phase. Phase two is cyber attacks on government and military installations. Phase three is the taking out of those military assets in and around strike targets. So all of the defense, radar and defense systems in and around the nuclear sites, should we call them, any of those sites that are going to receive a bunker buster, because I think that's what's happening. I mean, that could be going down tonight, guys. Before you send in your B-2s or B-52 bombers, you want to take out air defense, because the last thing you want is air defense taking out those assets. Okay, and then phase four is the destruction of said assets buried deep underground. Okay, those are the four phases that the video yesterday was talking about. Now, phase one has already been achieved. The West have air superiority across most of Iran at the moment. Phase two, as in the cyber attacks, there were reports yesterday, I think, and today that there are signs and evidence that that's happening as we speak. So there are cyber attacks hitting Iran at the moment. We're not going to hear too much about those because they are targeting sort of military and government platforms. So that's confidential, it's sensitive, and we're not really going to know about that. Phase three, taking out as many air defense systems, radar communications, logistical centers. What else have we got? Ammunition and fuel depots, just to name a few, which has to be constantly in motion whilst the other phases are happening, and has been pretty much for the last 4 days. That's all we're hearing about at the moment. This target's been taken out, that's been taken out, missiles are flying all over the place. But finally, phase four, the taking out of the nuclear assets hidden deep inside some of these bunkers. So we're hearing on mainstream now that the US are planning to use the very bunker buster munitions that I was talking about yesterday on those said bunkers. So I've done the video because I've kind of found information that kind of presents to me that that's what's happening, and now I'm seeing that evidence. We are in between phase three and phase four at the moment. Now, the question on many people's minds is, what is Iran going to do about it? So what I mean by that is taking once those bunker busters start coming in and start dismantling their nuclear infrastructure, shall we say, what is Iran going to do about it? And this can be concerning, depending on how credible Iran are. The shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz, that's kind of there. That's at the top. That seems to be at the top, especially of the Western media at the moment. And the reason being is because we will be impacted by that. So let's just cover that quickly. I just want to explain what that means, okay? And because there's going to be so many people out there that don't understand, well, they probably don't even know where the Strait of Hormuz is, and probably not bothered. However, I just want to explain what this means. And, you know, there are going to be areas of this mainstream news that you take with a pinch of salt. It's not just a case of Iran, you know, taking control of the Strait of Hormuz and stopping all, you know, cargo sort of shipping vessels moving through that corridor. Right. It's easier for me to explain here. On the screen at the moment, you're going to see, right, this is the Middle East in effect. We have, let's just zoom out. I just want to zoom out so we can see the countries. For anyone who didn't like geography at school, or doesn't know. If you're right, so the Mediterranean's up here, guys. If you're in the UK, we're up in the corner out there somewhere. Now, the Middle East is kind of this region here, the kind of light region, very dry region, sandy and rocky and mountainous and stuff like that. Now, Iran's here. Okay, you can see that where the cursor is. That's Iran. We have Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, the United Arab Emirates. So any of you that have been to Dubai, that's where you'll be familiar with that place. Lovely place. We've also got Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and we've got Bahrain, and we've got Kuwait. Okay, so these are all, oil-rich countries. The Strait of what is it called? The Strait of Hormuz. Sorry about that, guys. I don't even know what hummus. Maybe I was thinking food. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. The Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is on the Persian Gulf. It's the Arabian Gulf. So this is the Arabian Gulf. Okay, and just here on this peninsula, let me zoom in. This is all Iran here on the top. Okay, and then these are all the others. There's Dubai, just there. Lovely place. But if we zoom in, you'll find that you should find. Let's go in a bit more, maybe. The Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so basically what it is, it's a bottleneck. Okay, it's a shipping bottleneck between here, United Arab Emirates, and Iran. So Iran, if they're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, they are going to blockade. My days, get off of there. They're going to blockade this shipping lane. Okay, now just to explain the importance of that, let's go to Iraq. This is Iraq here. I've pinned this, the VS oil terminal. So we're talking about the reason why this is going to impact the West, because if they do this, you're going to see petrol prices go up. Well, they're already talking about it in the UK on mainstream. Okay, this morning it's on the news. So guys, just be ready for it. Okay, if you're driving petrol cars, you need to kind of bear that in mind. But the shortage of oil is so much more impacting than just not being able to drive around in your car, guys. But let's not get into that. Iraq. This is Iraq. This is southern Iraq. In here, we've got. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to show you a couple. These are sort of oil terminals. You'll see these. You'll see the shipping container there, and they just kind of fill up and off they go. And what that ship will do, or those ships will do, they'll come down here. They'll travel south, out of this strait, and straight into the Persian Gulf here, okay, which is fine. Now they can't go anywhere else. The Persian Gulf is like a cup. Once you're in, there's only one way of getting out, and that's the same way that you entered it. So these ships will move south, and then they'll go towards the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the same applies, that was Iraq. The same applies to Kuwait. I'm not going to zoom in and show you all of these oil terminals. You know that they're oil-rich nations, and you know that their main source of finance is normally oil, gas, and those kinds of minerals. So the shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz will affect shipping out of Iraq, Kuwait, and this is a big one. Saudi Arabia. Okay, look at the size of Saudi Arabia. Okay, it's huge. But off of Saudi, you've got Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and then we've got Oman here. Okay, now that's Oman. Yeah, it'll affect them instantly. Yeah, right. So just bear that in mind. Iran coming out with we're going to shut down that strait, then it's not just a case of doing that unless you want the whole of your navy blown out of the water to prevent that from happening. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is it's okay them making this threat, but how plausible is it? So I'm just going to explain to you why Iran would have to sort of think twice about this, guys. Right, so to achieve this goal, Iran's navy would have to fully, or it'd have to be sort of fully engaged right across here. Okay, they'd have to be fully engaged right across here, blocking that, and also patrolling both inside and outside of the Persian Gulf. Yeah, so it'd be the Gulf of Oman, which is Oman territory. So that they would control that, but Iran get to control that as well, because obviously, you know, Iran's here. I just want to let's just cover this quickly because it's important. To achieve this goal, like I said, Iran's navy would have to be fully engaged. Now, I'm just going to explain to you quickly the size of the Iranian navy, what that actually means. Okay, it's going to take about 20 or 30 seconds for each of these. Yeah. So the Iranian navy, which is known as the IRIN, possesses a diverse fleet, including frigates, corvettes. They've got fast attack craft and patrol boats, amphibious ships, auxiliary ships. They've also got submarines and also they've got aircraft that support those naval assets. So they've got 7 frigates, 5 corvettes, 20 fast attack craft. They've got 6 patrol boats. They've got 31 amphibious ships. They've got 17 auxiliary ships. I don't believe, well, actually they do. They must have, we're talking about Iran. They've definitely got submarines. I don't know how many. I think they've got 8. But they are kind of like diesel stroke electric or mini subs. And they've also got the Naval Air Force that supports that, of which they've got 54 aircraft. Right, moving on. So that's quite a big navy to patrol the Persian Gulf, friends. More than capable of shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. But they've also got what else have they got? They've got forward base ships, destroyers in development, and also drone carriers as well. So I put a comment out onto someone else's channel yesterday on this subject and thought actually this is a really important sort of subject that we should be covering and warrants some, let's say, some airtime. Hence the reason why I'm doing this video. So Iran has quite a number of submarines. Like I say, they are diesel electric. There are some mini subs, all of which would be allowed to, you know, sort of be present in the Persian Gulf. And that I would expect then the Iranian Navy to know the Persian Gulf like the back of their hands. Okay, so this is not unfamiliar territory to them. But so the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so this is I'm going to zoom in so we can sort of see it on the screen so we know what we're talking about here. It's this choke point here that we're talking about. Yeah, that's what the reason why I'm explaining this is because you're going to hear it on the news. Okay, and if the cost of petrol goes up at your local petrol station, this is the reason why. Okay, at least you can go, well, it's costing this because of this little stretch of sea, shall we say. Anyway, they've got to contend with Kuwait. They've got a naval force which operates a relatively small fleet, primarily focuses on their coastal defense and sort of patrol sort of operations in and around their shores. But they've only got, I think they've got things like those sort of fast attack craft, patrol boats, and landing craft. That's it. Saudi Arabia, a lot bigger country. The Royal let's start again. The Royal Saudi Navy. They currently have 28 frontline commissioned vessels, excluding smaller patrol vessels and auxiliary ships. These include frigates, corvettes, patrol craft, mine warfare vessels, and amphibious craft. They've got 11 principal surface combatants. They've got 65 patrol and coastal vessels. They've got 7 minesweepers. They've got 8 amphibious craft and various additional. Okay, so that alone is kind of the same as, or on the same, along the same lines as Iran. However, we've got to consider the United Arab Emirates Navy getting involved, because obviously that would impact them. They operate a fleet of approximately, and I was surprised by this actually, they've got a fleet of 72 vessels because it's a relatively small country, including corvettes, offshore patrol vessels. They've got patrol craft, mine hunters, and land craft. 11 corvettes. Oh, I ain't going to go through those numbers. They've got 72 vessels. Oman. So they are kind of down here. Okay, just down here. This is Oman. Okay, just down there. They what have they got? They've got they've got a fleet of 22 vessels. This includes corvettes, patrol craft, amphibious landing vessels, and auxiliary ships. Let's just rattle through these quickly. Qatar, they have they've been significantly actually expanding their fleet since 2010, I think, or was it 2015? I'm not too sure. However, since that expansion, they've now got 61 surface vessels after the completion of their current sort of naval expansion program. Bahrain, tiny little country, but this would impact them. They have a fleet actually of approximately 70 combat vessels, patrol craft, and all the rest of it. But there's another country that I want to pull into the mix, and I'll tell you for why. Because again, I'm relating this to what we're seeing on mainstream. If we zoom out, it's not just about patrolling and having control of the Persian Gulf. It's also everything else around this area here in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman and all the rest of it. Now, the country that you probably wouldn't expect to get involved in this is Pakistan. Okay, they've got their own beef with India at the moment, and we're still waiting for that to really pop off. But Pakistan are just here. So if we kind of zoom in, there's the Pakistan border here. Just here, that white line is the border, and it borders Iran. Yeah. So this is the Gulf of Oman, and there is the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so it's close. So why have I brought this into the mix? Let me tell you. Actually, let me just tell you about about their navy just quickly. No, let me tell you the reason why. I've mentioned this because guess who's gone off to Pakistan this week? In fact, I think they've gone off today to Pakistan, and that is Donald Trump. And it just makes sense now because when they sort of mentioned it on mainstream, oh yeah, Donald Trump has gone over to Pakistan. I thought, what? In the midst of an absolute crisis at the moment, it just doesn't make sense. However, now it does make sense. So Donald Trump, you know, when I look at the geographical optics, this is if the West can get the backing of the Pakistan Navy in terms of them monitoring their international waters on behalf of the West and all the rest of it, that would be a massive plus. So basically what I'm trying to say is, has Trump gone into Pakistan today to say, listen, guys, can you kind of, forget about India at the moment because we've got this crisis going off. They're threatening to shut off the Strait of Hormuz, and we're going to need just your support in this area here, as you can see on the screen, this area. And, we would like your support, your naval support to do that. And I'm sure Trump will turn around and say, listen, we'll get some business deals going, some trade deals, but let's get this out the way first. That's what the negotiations are all about if you're in the Trump world. But the Pakistani Navy currently has 36 frontline commissioned vessels in active infantry at the moment, which that number excludes smaller patrol vessels and auxiliary ships. So I'm just saying, basically what they've got is they've got 9 frigates in service. They've got 7 corvettes, 3 minesweepers, I think. But they also operate 8 submarines, including diesel electric attack submarines and also air independent propulsion. They're called AIP submarines. Let's forget about that. I'm getting into a naval technical conversation here. Now, there's a reason why I'm sort of saying all this. Okay, guys, if Iran, after whatever happens tonight, comes out and says, right, off of the back of this, we are going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, then although they've got a navy that is capable of doing that and a supporting air force, they have to consider the numbers that I've just come out with in terms of all of those other countries that are going to be affected by the shipping trade going through that strait. Okay. Now, that's just those countries. Yeah. Because, it doesn't stop there. We haven't even considered the Western countries' navies currently operating in the Middle East, which, of course, is amongst the best in the world. So there are at least another 50 naval vessels ranging from strike carrier groups to independent destroyers, corvettes, and many others. They're operating between the Red Sea. If you don't know where that is, let's just zoom out slightly. We don't have to go too far. The Red Sea's here. Okay, Red Sea's there, Persian Gulf's there. Either side. So the Red Sea is on the western side of Saudi Arabia. The Persian Gulf is on the eastern side. Obviously, because of the attacks from Yemen onto shipping, commercial shipping, where we go, commercial shipping lanes, and that is in and out of the Red Sea around this area here. Hence the reason why there is a heavy Western naval presence there. They're attacking Yemen targets at the moment. Okay, so there are naval assets here. Western naval assets here, and also all around here. They haven't got to travel far, is basically what I'm saying. Yeah. So collectively, this is a formidable, or we should be sort of, it should be a formidable deterrent for Iran from attempting to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So all I'm saying, guys, I'm just trying to justify what's being said and why this probably won't happen unless Iran just go, do you know what, guys, we're in a world of shit. Fuck it, let's go down. Let's go down. Let's just go down fighting and just cause havoc. They could easily do this. If they feel that they're in such a corner that they've got no chance, then it's anybody's guess what they can do. However, let's make sure that we are sat firmly on the fence here, guys, because of course Iran. So just because I've mentioned all of those naval assets, that doesn't mean that Iran are done. Because remember, Iran could also receive naval support from the likes of China, North Korea, and also Russia, ultimately bolstering Iranian sort of naval numbers, shall we say. So if China wanted to support Iran, China alone, okay, listen to this, guys, China alone has approximately 370 surface ships and submarines. That's right, 370 in its navy, which includes 140 ships, such as destroyers, frigates, and cruisers. And if Russia wanted to get involved, and then it goes up another level, they have 290 ships, submarines, and warfare boats in active service at the moment. And if we're going to, if we're really going to go tit for toe, shall we say, and the US Navy wants to get involved fully, then listen, this is all speculation. I can't see this happening. It would be way off the charts. But if the Navy, the US Navy, wanted to get involved, listen to this. They currently have 470 ships in active service. Do you know what I mean? This is a numbers game, guys, and you kind of got to look at where would this end up if Iran wanted to sacrifice their whole navy, because that's what they would be doing if they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Then so be it. If that's what it's looking like. But guys, you're going to be hearing plenty of this chat about the Strait of Hormuz, but probably won't hear anything about these numbers. People will instantly be jumping on that narrative, the narrative that Iran can and will do this and that. But in reality, how many of those other navies are really going to sort of get involved or even let that happen? Do you know what I mean? So we have to look at both sides of the story and not just talk about, talk off the back of whatever bluster's been spoke about online. We need to have a look at the reality of these things happening. Yeah. Right. Anyway, that was that was kind of just I wanted to explain that off the back of yesterday's. I've gone through those four phases that I believe is happening at the moment, and we'll see evidence of this, I think, possibly over the next 24 to 48 hours. It seems like the shit is really going to hit the fan in the Middle East, certainly Israel and or Iran tonight. Like I say, I won't be going to bed. I will be monitoring and tracking that to understand what the hell they're all playing at. Yeah. And then hopefully, I'll get a video with some kind of update first thing in the morning. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, guys, is that's one of the threats that Iran is kind of talking about at the moment. Is at the top of their list. Firstly, it's the threat of the attack tonight. Secondly, it's the Strait of Hormuz. But another threat coming out of Iran, and this is more credible, and that is the activation of sleeper cells embedded in societies around the world. That's going to be terrorist warfare. It's a difficult war to fight, and it's a war primarily fought by the intelligence services. To be honest, we're not really going to know too much about it until a bomb goes off in a capital city somewhere, or in a concert, or whatever the act is going to be. But I believe we're going to be seeing this escalate, and sharply escalate, if Iran or the Iranian regime is crushed. I don't work for intelligence, so I can't really sort of comment any further on this. However, and this is the final one, 30 seconds, guys. Sorry to take your time. This was supposed to be quick, but it's important. The final threat in terms of the Iranian sort of retaliation we're starting to hear. We're hearing about this on the platforms also, and that is quoted by the Iranian regime themselves. which is going to be an attack that will be remembered for centuries. Okay, that's what we spoke about right at the beginning of this. Now, it's the surprise attack that we're talking about. I talked about it at the beginning. I was going to talk about it at the end, but I think because in terms of chronological order, as in time, that's happening before anything else. The attack tonight, the mother of all attacks, is going to happen tonight, and that will happen before the Strait of Hormuz is shut down or anything else happens. Okay, but those are the threats. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to let you get on with your days. It's hot outside. I'm going to grab a cold drink and go and lay out in the garden and just kind of let some of this information, sort of drift off somewhere else. Okay. Have a good day, guys. I'll speak to you soon.